Night on the Black Channel. Well, just when you thought it was safe to jump back into the white supremacist waters here, when you thought the Civil War could not possibly get any worse or wackier, Dan Bilzerian enters the chat and he goes straight to work. There's just been so much that's happened this week that I didn't want to cram it all into one evening. You want to be able to flesh these things out. So Dan Bilzerian comes out there on Twitter and straight out of left field, he says, Nick Fuentes' father is a 50% Sephardic Jew. What? Damn! LARPing as a white Christian nationalist when he's actually a gay half Mexican Jew is true comedy. Damn! All lies will be exposed. I guess he's channeling his inner Cat Williams. So yeah, folks, this is like, sitting at your favorite restaurant, and, you're sitting there talking about the sports teams and what happened at the NBA finals and who's going to get drafted next year. And then all of a sudden somebody busts out, damn, I hate my mama. It's like, whoa, okay, that was random. Okay, we weren't really focusing on that, but clearly this is bothering you. I didn't know that this was a pre-existing topic of discussion, but alrighty then. So needless to say, things got ugly. They got ugly quick. Nick Fuentes jumps in there. Aren't you supposed to be running for office against Randy Fine? And Dan Bilzerian says, yeah, I've spent $750,000 on the campaign so far. You do nothing. Damn! Oh, man. It's just... this has got to be rough for Nick because Dan is ready to get down and dirty with it, so you can't use that tactic with him. This guy, he loves living in the slop, so it's... if Nick wants to get into the gutter, Dan is like, I'm already in the gutter doing the backstroke. So, yeah, it's going to be rough to sit up here and do that with Dan. It's going to be hard. So, anyway, old Dan just keeps slinging it on him. Pause. Nick is like, spent $750,000 in the campaign and has done 0 public events, didn't have a website or a platform until last week, didn't remind people to register until 3 days before the deadline, and which is polling at 4%. This is what I mean when I say you are not a serious person. So maybe Nick was disparaging his campaign, and such as it is, and Dan did not take to it nicely. So Dan responded, it's not polling at 4%. That's from the same betting site that had Massey as a 4-1 favorite 2 days before he lost. Tell us about your half-Jew dad, though. Interested in hearing more about that. Y'all, they are going at it hammer and tong over here. Oh, man. Did anybody have this on their bingo card? They are just going straight at it. They are going straight at it. Well, Nick had a moment to reflect on this, and I think you'll find his response to this kind of interesting.
I'm open to the idea that I'm Jewish. Maybe I am.
What? Damn! Oh, man. Well, Nick, that would make things a bit awkward, wouldn't it? In light of all the stuff you said, that would make things a bit awkward, wouldn't it? You can be, picayune. Hook it up. But, yeah, man, that would make things a bit awkward.
I'm open to the idea that I'm Jewish. Maybe I am. Here's what they're hanging their hat on the fact that some Hispanics are Jewish. Because 500 years ago, some conversos came to the New World. And so they say, well, Fuentes is a Sephardic name. It's like, well, okay, so is Rodriguez a Sephardic name? Is fucking Sanchez? Like, yes, half of a millennium ago, some conversos came to the New World. So is it possible? I mean, I suppose. I'd be interested to find out. I don't think that would change anything.
I'd be interested to find out. I don't think it would change anything. You don't think that would make things a bit awkward? You don't think it would do that? Okay. Folks, as I've told you, white supremacy is a religion. It is also crazy as bat crap and psychotic. So it does not rely on literally any actual fact. It merely relies on your willingness to believe. That's all. That's all. I'm white and I say so. Or I'm not white, but I wish to be, so I say so. And it becomes that.
So yeah, maybe we'll get Rabbi to
Bro Hyper SC sent $25. Hey,
but yeah, if that turned out to be true, there'd be signs.
Construction Bro Hyper sent $200.
So yeah, y'all, it's getting rough out there, man. It is getting rough out there. Not the least a bit of which to mention that just in case you thought there was nothing else to substantiate it, oh man, what happens when your idols become your rivals? Sneeko has a few things he'd like to say on this matter.
Nick Fuentes, well, Pablo told me last year, and I wasn't going to say this for a long time because, he did say this to me in confidentiality, but when you now are saying publicly to Laura Loomer Jigsaw to go arrest me, saying that I'm a terrorist, now selling merch with my name on it, I'm going to say publicly, you told me that you're a Sephardic Jew. Pablo Fuentes, Pablocito, Nick Fuentes, is a Sephardic Jew. You don't believe me? Ask him for yourself. He told me. And I said, okay, you know what? I'll keep this private. Now that you're tagging the FBI, now that you want Laura Loomer to arrest me, let everybody know that. You're a skin worshiper. You've been coping about the fact that he's a Mexican for the longest time. Not only is he a Mexican, he's also a Jew. That's the savior of the white race. Deport Sneeko. Now he's seeing Rabbi Mizrahi saying, oh yeah, Rabbi Mizrahi's right. Let's go kill all the Goyim. That's the guy who's going to save the white race, who wants to kill all the Goyim, this Mexican midget Jew. This is your guy. Allah is going to humiliate all the enemies of Islam, inshallah.
Okay, let me explain to folks here. Things are real weird on the white supremacist side, y'all. Things are just super weird. White supremacy is a religion. And in case you didn't notice, the loudest, most virulent, most viciously passionate voices defending white supremacy, carrying the banner, waving the flag. Did y'all notice that how many of them aren't even white? What? Damn! This is what the great European colonial project of white supremacy has been reduced to. The loudest voices screaming in favor of the virtues of white supremacy, and of course attacking black people at every turn, and they ain't even white. I mean, the nation outsourced their jobs and outsourced their industries. Now they're outsourcing white supremacy too?
Boy, what in the hell's the matter with you?
So in case no one noticed, the loudest, most virulent voices promoting white supremacy on a daily basis, and they ain't even white. None of there's a bunch of non-white people yelling about the requirement and their obsession with preserving white supremacy, people. This is what you're up against. They are mentally and emotionally unhinged across the board. It's ridiculous. You laugh because it's ridiculous, not because it's funny. You know, it's like seeing a moose, you know, riding a cow. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation, actually. This is not actually a very safe situation. This is actually very perilous, but it's just like, oh my goodness, this is the most crazy thing I've ever seen. If either one of them turned their attention towards you, you're every type of dead there is. But so, I mean, it's not funny because you're laughing, not because it's funny, it's because this is just insanely ridiculous. So yeah, folks, this is what we have now. The folks who are most pushing the white supremacist line are not even white. But then again, reality does not matter either. That's the other part of it here, folks. Reality does not matter either. You see, when you check the comment section, that's the thing for you to keep in mind. What are the people saying? How do the people respond to hearing these things? Well, let's go and take a look at it. Some folks say a fake Jew at that because it's been proven that the pale folks claiming to be Jewish have no Hebrew DNA. Okay, well, talk your talk there. Nick is a sick joke. It's sad that so many young men who could turn to something great follow this dork. These poor young men look up to a joke, a nobody that will never get a girl. How did a Mexican closet homosexual become the face of white nationalism in the first place? Well, if you all actually look back through your history, this is actually not unheard of. White supremacy is a religion that co-opts people, which is why we have always said it's a religion. You do not have to be white to proselytize for white supremacy. Some of the biggest advocates of white supremacy throughout the centuries have been non-whites. It is one of the reasons why we, as the foundation, have always had to be wary about the, as Dr. John Henry Clark referred to it, the place of the mulatto and the role of the mulatto in history collaborating with white supremacy. So we have been the most cognizant of it, but not because it just started, because it's always been that way. Then you have comments like this: F off, Fuentes! Stop hating the goat just because someone is a Jew. Making them bad, isn't it? It's what you stand up for. That's the difference. We don't give a F if Dan would have been 100% Jew. At least he's on the right side of history.
Damn!
Look at you. Look how far off you fell, bro. No one's rising your BS trend. If you're America first, you would be with Dan Bilzerian, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You remember you made us hater. So no, F you. You, oh boy. All righty. I don't know if that's on the menu for chalupas, but all right. Just saying for rhetoric, the Mexican part. Love my Mexican people. Okay. All righty then. That's right, folks. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or not, so long as you are on the right side of history. Or is that to be understood as the white side of history? When you go down through those comments, you see things like that. And then you start checking to see whether or not they care about that or not. You start reading through those things, and then you start seeing if they care about it or not, and that should be rather ominous. That should be rather ominous. Oh, boy. So, folks, I got a few questions here. Why now? Why now? I mean, Dan Bilzerian, folks are saying that he's got Jewish lineage. Now they're sitting up here throwing Nicky Boy out there and whatnot. Folks, my question is, why now? Why now? What do you all think is the reason for it and why it's happening now? I have a few ideas. I have a few ideas of my own about why that might be happening there. You all can see whether or not you think this pans out or not. Remember what I've taught you all over the past couple of decades, what I've taught you all here, and it's necessary when these things occur to show you that just like when Brother Neely Fuller taught us that white supremacy takes both sides of the argument, he had to show you that it was happening when it was occurring. That white supremacy takes both sides of the argument. It's necessary for those of us in the new black media, especially me as your anchor man, the person you come to here every week, to make sure that what you're getting is accurate. And what we've taught you is that even if we disappeared tomorrow, the fighting would not stop. Take a look at World War I. There were no black people involved in that. And they drenched the continent of Europe in blood. Take a look at World War II. There were no black people involved in that, and they made World War I look like a minor skirmish. And we can keep going with the conflicts that have happened ever since there. If we disappeared tomorrow, the point is every time you turn around, they tell you that you're the problem. That's a smokescreen. That's a lie. That's a deflection. Because take a look at what they do in and amongst themselves with absolutely no involvement from us whatsoever. No involvement from us whatsoever. I've told you all that when Donald Trump got reelected, I said it then, they are all about to start going at each other, hammer and tong. They are going to now start viciously implementing their purity tests. That's the weapon du jour now. Now that there is power to be had, or at least there was power to be had, now they start scrapping for it for themselves, which means they start saying that, okay, if white supremacy is now openly ascendant, which it is not, but dream on. If white supremacy is now openly ascendant, then power is to be had by whomever the purest whites are. The same game that it's always been. And so the first weapon that they lay their hands on is who can we discredit and who can we disinherit and who can we delegitimize based on whiteness, not based on their positions, not based on their correctness, not based on their accuracy, based on, well, I'm whiter than you. Even if you are dealing with someone like Bilzerian or Fuentes, who both of them are less than white. They are sitting up here slugging it out in these internet streets over firmly establishing in the national psyche which of these less than whites is the more white. We're both less than white. But I'm the real representative and acolyte of the white cause, even though both of you are less than white. That's the part that I want to put firmly in focus for you. So when you see the Candace Owenses, and when you see the Ian Miles Chongs, and when you see the Nikki Haleys, and so on and so forth there. I want you to recognize what's fueling it and what's driving it. And understand what they're really getting at. See, there's a reason why when you jump into the white supremacist pool, you got to cannonball into that damn thing. You have to give up everything. White supremacy doesn't allow you to dance around. Once you jump in there, that's it. You have got to be so repugnant, so offensive, so egregious that you make yourself completely unacceptable anywhere else otherwise. And so here you have these two less than whites sitting up here weaponizing being Jewish against each other, weaponizing being Jewish against each other. That's the real issue. Can we make this an issue of being Jewish now? Why do you all think those kind of things occur? Well, it's real simple, which is what I was saying there before. You see, they found a lane for it with the purity tests because the dominant society goes for a lot of symbolism. They go for a lot of symbolism. And that's the kind of thing that can get their attention. That's the kind of thing that can hold on to them and get their attention there. And they'll soak that up. See, they measure the people who want to be on team white supremacy. They measure that. Remember, America's biggest export is its culture. Need I remind you, America's biggest export is its culture. Those who adhere to and wish to be a part of American culture, even though we are the ones who built it, they then immediately rename it American culture when it's to their benefit. We covered that last night. You can be brought under the tent of Americanism so long as you are beneficial. Oh, you make a profit, all of a sudden everybody is bopping their heads and wearing your clothing. When they want to penalize you, they then tell you the problem is your music and your clothing. What? Did y'all get that? When it's beneficial to them, they claim your music and when they want to oppress you, they say the problem is your music and your culture, your music, all this Negro stuff, your music and your culture, black rap music, black rap culture, black hip hop. The problem is black culture. But when they go around the world and see the rest of the world emulating it, all of a sudden they then say this is that they were just denigrating and condemning is now American culture. White supremacy always takes both sides of the argument. Placing themselves strategically on both sides of it so that no matter which way it goes, they are in position to benefit. Which is why it is our task and our job to make sure that they cannot take both sides of the issue. Once you have condemned us, you've chosen a side. We won't hear reconciliation after that, and you damn sure will not hijack us or claim us. Once you have condemned us, you just chose your side. No, you don't get to jump back and forth. You just chose your side. Which is why they do not want us to identify ourselves. They don't want us to characterize ourselves. They don't want us to label ourselves. They want to be the ones who do that. And now that we've taken that out of their hands, their ability to hijack these things is beginning to slip through their fingers like sand. Well, I wanted to take this moment to remind you, when you are convenient, they'll fold you into the culture, but only to benefit them. Not that it benefits you, but they found something that benefits them, and now they found an avenue, or should I say a back alley, that they think they can use to hijack what you've got and to use it to their advantage. Well, it happened on North American soil. Therefore, if he makes a profit, it belongs to us. Who the hell is the us? Who the hell you talking about us? So likewise, when it comes to weaponizing these things, I want you all to understand that they're not going to back off of that, man. This is the end goal of white supremacy. This is the inevitable result of a white supremacist culture, is constant, nonstop conflict over things that don't even matter. There's the real issue. They're not even fighting over consequential things. They're fighting over completely inconsequential things. They are slugging it out over completely and that's what they have as white supremacists. They've got so much excess benefits, so much excess disposable income, so much excess wealth that they can afford to slug it out over nothing but ego. They're fighting over ego, even for those who don't even qualify as white. They're fighting over that. You see, there's a reason why they do not want us to be in the room to discuss these things. Recently, there's a YouTube channel called Channel 5, I think. They were talking to Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes, and that was disgusting to have Hunter Biden sitting up here trying to speak on behalf of black folk. We do not need you for that. Nothing ever goes right when y'all do that. Whether it was that woman talking to Elon Musk or this, no, we don't play that game, because they're never going to debunk them like they're supposed to. Nick Fuentes has no place speaking on this. The whole conversation should be about what are your white credentials? And then when you are properly armed with the historical perspective that we've given you here, all the way from the founding fathers to Ben Franklin forward, it's like, dude, this isn't even funny comedy. This is just ridiculous. You're not qualified to speak on behalf of the white supremacist establishment. You're a useful lackey. But for you to pretend to yourself that you can set the rules, well, if you're setting the rules and if you are the vanguard for the white supremacist empire, then the empire has already fallen. If these two are the vanguard of the white supremacist empire, then, ladies and gentlemen, the empire has already fallen. It's already done. Because it has now descended into such a state of irrational schizophrenia that literally anybody who walks through the door, everyone who walks through the door obviously is a completely non-white person, and yet they're the ones leading the discussions and leading the vanguard of the white supremacist cause. You're not even spearheading your own damn cause anymore. You got Vivek Ramaswamy and other folks cosplaying it. Now, let me explain to you why it is that some of them think it's slick, but I'm telling you that it is not. There are a number of them who will tell themselves, well, that's slick because, you see, when you have the Fuentes or the Bilzerians or these Myron Gaines or the others, when you've got them leading the discussion, that allows the white supremacists to be able to promote the cause while at the same time leaving their hands clean. They have no fingerprints on it. Their hands are clean. They didn't touch anything. You can't point to them and say that they said any of this. So you see, that's the idea that they have. But there is a flaw in there. There is a flaw. And the flaw is that you have outsourced it to incompetent operatives. As you saw here, Nick Fuentes is willing to, as soon as the pressure is applied, just like on Piers Morgan, as soon as the pressure is applied, he immediately begins to fold and compromise.
I'm open to the idea that I'm Jewish. Maybe.
The second you begin to apply the pressure, the second that you put him under any heat or adversity, because he doesn't actually have the proper credentials, his confidence to stand strong in the face of it, because these arguments immediately break him. It's like, dude, you're not Anglo-Saxon. So if you're leading the discussion and yet you're not qualified to do so, you get delegitimized by anybody who wanders in the room. So whenever you test his street creds, he folds. Because the heart ain't in him. Because he's not really legitimate. Just like Kamala Harris. Damn! When you pressed Kamala Harris on her black credentials, what did she do? Y'all ain't ready for us to go this deep off into it today. They don't want us to get this deep off into it. You don't want me connecting all these dots? When Kamala Harris came under fire and her black credentials were challenged, you see, those of us from the soil, we intrinsically knew exactly what to do when somebody challenges your black credentials. I don't give a damn how dark you are. I don't give a damn how light-skinned you are. If you identify as black the way we do, you already know what to do when somebody challenges your black credentials. You already know what to do when somebody challenges your blackness. You already know what to do. You don't need somebody to coach you, whisper in your ear, slip you a note, give you a week with a conference call with some white consultants. You know damn well what to do. It's like, oh, hell no, we taking it to the street. We taking it straight to the concrete. Hell no, we about to crash out up in here. Oh, those are my damn credentials. And then you cannot just name them off. You gonna stand on them. You see, many of you, especially from the South, you understand you were taught something. There are many places in this world that you can run from. Somebody might run you out of a store. They might run you out of the mall. They might run you off of a street corner. But you don't run from home. Now, there's one place you do not allow anybody to chase you out of or get you to run from. When you are home, ain't nowhere else to run. This will come as a surprise to some of the newcomers out there, by the way, who have left their homelands, because these are foreign concepts to you. But for those of us from the soil, you don't run from home. This is where the last step happens, right here. Ain't no backing up anymore. It's going down right here. There will not be a next location. This is the last stop. When someone challenges your black credentials, your black identity, your black heritage, your black lineage, ain't no backing up. Ain't no backing up, ain't no backing off, ain't no backing down. Folks, if you give that up, what the hell else you got? You become Roland Martin. I'm a Christian. I'm a bozo. And then you got to live the rest of your damn life with people reminding you, like I just did, that that's who you really are. You can't look your kids in the eye. You can't look your kinfolk in the eye when you're sitting eyeball to eyeball with the preeminent white supremacist of his time and he challenged your blackness and you said, I ain't black. You don't run from that. You don't back up from that at all. Otherwise, you get clowned for the rest of your damn days, just like Roland, just like so many others. When you start hyphenating your name, you're black and I'm black and Latino, black and Asian, black and it's like, okay, you're going to have to carry that for the remainder of your days. You'll have to carry that you ain't solid and you ain't stable. So, folks, you don't back off of that at all. Never. Never. And white supremacy has outsourced that to individuals who will not stand by it. They're not solid. When you apply the pressure, they don't really have the credentials, so they won't really stand for it because they can't do it. You're going to be hitting them with things and asking them questions and challenging them on things that they don't have the credentials for. That's why they can't really guard your interests so well. So they may be effective spokespeople in the interim, but at depth, they don't have any power or any foundation. That's the problem. They can provide superficial benefit, but it's only skin deep, pardon the expression. As soon as you apply any pressure, they break and they shatter. And you put all your chips on them. Let me explain something here. You cannot be an effective advocate if people can delegitimize you. That's what all this is about. They're fighting for power because they've learned, okay, if we can delegitimize you, you can't be an effective advocate if you're delegitimized, if we can decouple you from it, if we can claim you don't have the genes, if we can claim you're not made of the right stuff. That's what they're fighting for. I don't have to be smarter than you. Hell, I don't even have to be right. If I can substantiate that you have no legitimacy to even speak on this. It's a dangerous game that they're playing here because there's a lot of folks that when you start digging into this, it doesn't go well when you start digging into this. No, you all have grabbed onto and acquired the wrong damn operatives. They're not capable of carrying the weight. They're not capable of carrying the weight, but they're the only ones you got, so you're dependent on them, even though they're not qualified to do this. You see, when you got Nick Fuentes, understand some people, I've talked to the hardcore white supremacists. You've seen me do it on camera in the wake of the white supremacist Charlottesville race riot. And let me explain to you right there. They were all about where they come from. They're all about their ancestors. They're all about their lineage. They're all about their genealogy. They're all about tracing themselves back to Britain. They were all about that. They were all about that. That's what they were doing. They were on that. So that tells you what the rules of engagement are, but it also tells you how the hierarchy is set. So when you allow the illegitimate to become the vanguard and carry the banner of what you're doing, that's when things become bad for you there. It becomes bad for you when you have to do that. When you have to sit here and get them to do that for you, man, that's when it becomes bad. You're supposed to be able to depend on them better than that. If you got to outsource this to other people, they have to make the terms of engagement, then they start compromising. You need them to be solid, and then they start compromising? You don't get to just get up and walk away from that. When they start compromising on it, that's where you're messing up at. When they can start having the ability to sit up here and take your talking points, and you're saying this is going to be your spokespeople here, and then they start messing up and start screwing up, and they hold the damn line because they can't. And then next thing you know, when you should be taking some big gains, well, Elon's getting some, but everybody else is being left without. Everybody else is being left without. Because let's be clear, what are they even fighting over here right now? What are they even fighting over? This is the definition of taking your eye off the damn ball. On some petty stuff. This is the very definition of taking your eye off the ball. Okay. In the chat room, Mr. G with a G needs to give me a call up on Zoom. You have 2 minutes. Let me go ahead and slap that Zoom link here in the chat room and go ahead and pin that up. Mr. G with a G has 2 minutes to be on Zoom here. Very glad that you're taking dispute with that, so we can go ahead and have this discussion in front of the people. And we can definitely go ahead and flesh that out for you here. So he's got something to teach us. Very glad to hear that. So by all means, let's go ahead and get with the lesson. Let's go ahead and get with the lesson. While I'm doing that, as a matter of fact, why don't I go ahead and just load up for a commercial, non-commercial break here. You got 2 minutes to be with that. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed, support the nice program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to Mr. Johnson. Thank you very much for your support here tonight. We appreciate that. To Karen. Thank you very much for your support here, sister. To Kenneth. Thank you for that here as well. My man, Mr. Richburg. Andrew L. LG 10 on and to everybody else here who's contributed to tonight's program, thank you very much for your support here. We appreciate that as always here. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. That'll give Mr. G with a G a chance to go ahead and give us a call in here by the time we come back. And we'll take your calls and more. You all can let us know what you are thinking of the great Jewish white supremacist civil war that has kicked off. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we ripping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And we've gone ahead and opened up the Zoom, so if you are so inclined, you can go ahead and give us a call there. If you've been instructed to give us a call, that is not just a nifty idea, that is an order. Because it's important also that we recognize these things. You see, what puts us ahead is being able to observe everybody else. Can you see the whole chessboard? If you can see all the players on it. You can also see the ones who are being disenfranchised. Remember when I told you all there before that old Ben Shapiro was on the way out? I said that he was going to be. Remember I said that Vivek Ramaswamy would be the first one voted off the island? Did I call it or did I call it? Oh, I told y'all he's going to be first voted off the island, and what do you know? It wasn't but a couple of months, and Elon Musk threw the bag, and then we threw out Vivek with the trash and said, go to Ohio, you're going to sink or swim. Damn! Oh, they didn't get it, but by the way, it's a bunch of them who got tossed out. Nikki Haley, hell, she got stomped out right after the damn convention, as a matter of fact. She got stomped out right after the convention. That was a hell of a spot to be in. Yes, a whole bunch of them thought they were going to play the white supremacist game. And I just gave you all the heads up early on about what was about to happen. I'm like, oh, this doesn't end well for them. This is not going to end well for them. Not at all, it won't. And sure enough, one by one, they just woke up, and next thing you know, they were out the door on the curbside for pickup. So what you have right now are individuals basically fighting for subsistence now. They're fighting for whatever crumb position is left. They bet all their chips on white supremacy, so they got to stay. By us analyzing everything, that's where we put him. Candace Owens, remember, Candace thought she was going to tiptoe back over. Y'all saw me cut that off at the knees early. Oh, no, baby, ain't going to be no apologizing. Ain't going to be no re-legitimizing. No, you don't get to do any of that. You are out. You are out for life. You and Charlie Kirk can go diddy-bopping down the road together. And when the white supremacists come for you, and they are coming, when they come to get you, the same folks who are sitting there talking about how great they think you are, those are going to be the same people that, whether it's the Macrons out of France or this new lawsuit from Charlie Kirk's bodyguards, when they finish getting you, those are going to be the same people talking about, well, the little nigger heifer should have kept her mouth shut. Those will be the same ones doing it. People understand something. They are never going to allow a non-white person to lead the white supremacist cause. You can be the white supremacist crash dummy, but you cannot lead the cause. Because just like Candace Owens, as soon as you applied some heat and some pressure, as soon as you reminded her that she was the token nigger in the yard, first thing she started talking about was racism, remember? We covered this before. When Turning Point USA's people started going at her, she starts talking about racism. When Donald Trump made that fake Time magazine cover with her face on it, she starts talking about racism. So she's already let them know that she is a white supremacist ass kisser when convenient. And as soon as she thinks it's no longer convenient, Then she's going to try to see if she can code switch and flip sides. As she tried to put that foot over here and we turned the damn flames on her, and she realized I'll be damned, it's scorching over there. Can't step over that. So now she's just going to have to ride all the way out with them. She's going to have to just ride all the way out. Well, it's no different for Nick or Dan. You're going to have to ride all the way out with this. So what they're doing now is trying to set themselves up for the long term. They're hoping they can gain a hardcore white supremacist following that'll float them, because you have lost and abandoned and sacrificed and surrendered your place in decent society. You see, y'all, what went wrong for them was that they saw Charlie Kirk and they understand there's a group of, what white supremacy got rich for. They got a bunch of white supremacists out there who become millionaires and in some cases billionaires. And if you want to be one of their token mouthpieces, they might go ahead and make a position for you. So everybody is out here fighting for one of those white supremacist spokesperson positions. That's what's happening, including folk that aren't white. There's money to be made. There's a bag to be made. But you see, therein lies the fundamental flaw, which is that it also means that they will be faithful so long as the cause is serving them. As soon as the cause is no longer sufficiently serving them, then look for these same folk, the Nick Fuentes and the others. Watch them start changing. After all, remember, 1 minute they were 10 toes down for Donald Trump. They were all a bunch of MAGA heads. 1 minute they were all 10 toes down for Donald Trump. And then next thing you know, as soon as it was no longer convenient, next thing you know, they start going at Trump. Now, you can't give authority to operatives who are that weak, who are that flaky. You can't give any real true authority to them. And understand, white supremacy been delineating long before we ever did. Way before that. They've had litmus tests way before we ever started doing that. So you see, when they take a look at these folk here who ain't solid, they immediately go to, by the way, ain't you Latino, boy? They go straight to that. Cash Patel, ain't you Indian? Hey, ain't you Jewish? They don't take the long way to that. They go straight to that. They go straight to, hey, wait a minute, you talking funny style. What are your Anglo credentials again? What are your Anglo credentials again? Because you talking real funny style. What exactly are your Come back over here. What were your Anglo credentials? Let me check those right quick. Yeah, because I remember hearing something about your Latino or something. That's not the last thing they go at. That's the first thing they start doing. They start paperwork checking right for that. It's like, oh, okay. Somebody in the chat room said, where's Bobby Jindal at? I'm sure Bobby is wondering too. Damn! I'm sure he's wondering too. There's a whole bunch of folk out there and whatnot. Just understand, this has always been the model. This has always been the format that they've used. So the real fight here is they are fighting for their socio-political lives in order to reassure the white establishment that they need to be allowed to retain their white spokesperson position. That's all they're really fighting for, because the real thing is that this is a silly conversation to even have. It's a silly conversation to even have. Folks, if there was anybody with any damn sense out there, there's no way in the hell that Nick Fuentes would be able to speak for your damn cause. None. There's literally no reason that he should be speaking for your cause whatsoever. He's not white enough. He's not hetero enough. What? He's not commanding enough. There isn't anything that he is or does that other white men would want to trade places with. I mean, yeah, he hates black folk. Okay, well, that'll get you the door fee. But beyond that, what part of his life or his personality or who he is would the average white male want to trade places with? In the chat room, Aquanaut says, an internet troll, you all need to understand that most of these cartoon characters from the last decade were just, really their whole thing was trolling. Richard Spencer, I've met Richard Spencer. I've talked to Richard Spencer. That was their whole thing about that. They want to go viral. Remember, Jared Taylor's goal is to create a white ethno-state. Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes' goals are to go viral. Did you get that? These the old white supremacists are concerned about taking ground, taking market share, making sundown towns and sundown states. Richard Spencer and Nick Fuentes were preoccupied with prioritizing going viral. Did you see me? Was I on camera in Charlottesville? Did you all see that I was standing there? That's what they do. That's their priority. That's what they push for. They do that. So by that definition, as soon as the cameras are gone or whatever, that's how they sustain themselves, by gaining an audience and getting folks to look and whatnot. And of course, the white supremacist media plays into that because they want to signal boost that, because they know that they can shut them down anytime they want to. Why do you think that they sent up these trial balloons like they did? Folks, do you think this doesn't go all the way to the top? Do you think that this does not go all the way to the top? This goes all the way to the top. When they're ready to go ahead and cut them down, all you're going to hear about Nick Fuentes, mark my words. When the establishment gets ready to cut Nick Fuentes off, they are not going to focus on him being a white supremacist. They're going to focus on him being an incel. They're going to focus on him being gay. They're going to focus on him in his relationships with females and how women don't really dig him. They're going to focus on that. When they eventually do come out for him and do come out at him, that's what they're going to focus on. Mark my words, when they do, they're not going to come after him about the white supremacist stuff. They're going to come out and about all these other things, the stuff that Tucker Carlson was talking about. They're going to come at him about that. Because that will be what they banish him and exile him for, is that you're not good for white women. You're not good for white procreation. You're not good for white relationships. You're not good for any of that. That's what they're going to be saying. Just like Dan Bilzerian. They've already marginalized him. They've already done that. And what's their negative spin on Dan? What's the negative spin that they've always had about him? The females, remember? How they sideline him and ostracize him is talking about the females. So what they'll do is they'll send out some of their hand-picked white women and whatnot. If you make any sort of traction, that's what they're gonna do. See, the issue right now, I want you all to understand this. Has Nick Fuentes actually talked to any white female newscasters or anything like that? We know he's talked to Piers Morgan. He was on Channel 5. He talked to that white dude over there. I don't think Nick has talked to a bunch of, I'm talking about like, especially the TV network side. He hasn't talked to any white females. Now, why do you think it is that they haven't made him available for that? Why do you think that hasn't been offered to him? Because that's going to be the knockout punch. They're going to put him in front of a white female, and she's not going to be talking about race. She's going to just be going at him like he's Andrew Tate. She's going to be going at him like that. She's going to be going at him about sexuality. She's going to be going at him about females and whatnot. And when they eventually do, mark my words, the female that they do send, she's going to be antagonistic as hell. They're going to tell her that, you know, she can go ahead and take the gloves off. And you're going to see him, he'll be probably civil for a moment. He'll be civil for a few moments there. But that's going to be it. She'll be civil for a few moments, but then she's going to start going at him about the women and whatnot, and that's what they're going to hammer him on. And he'll be a female. So if he tries any of the stuff that he did with Piers Morgan, it's already been bad. It'll just be horrendous. It'll just be horrendous. Candace, they're going to bankrupt Candace. Candace is going to get the Alex Jones treatment. Candace's fundamental flaw is that Candace is a whacked out, psycho, bipolar, emotionally imbalanced chick. That's the problem with Candace. That was why Charlie Kirk and PragerU grabbed her. They go and grab a bunch of mentally and emotionally imbalanced Negroes. I mean, folks clearly dealing with severe bipolar and emotional issues. Remember, like at Daily Wire, folks, that's the only black folk they bring there. Argument to be made, that's the only white folk they bring there. What? But remember that new little clown they brought in, what's his name? Matt Nuclear or whatever his name is. I mean, and literally on his very first broadcast, they brought him in. They're only paying him a few $100s a program. Very first show that he does, he's showing ChatGPT or whatever has got him asking, hey, can you talk about how great I am to an AI? And he's sitting up here, had accidentally posted what they were paying him, and it was awful. Oh man, this was damn me the Three Stooges, just very first program, and he vomited all over himself. That's who they brought in, a fella who is literally sitting up here asking an AI to go ahead and boost his ego for him. Literally doing that. Literally showing that. That's the kind of people that PragerU, Daily Wire, Turning Point, those are the Negroes that they have. They didn't choose them by accident. They can already see you 5150. So that's the folk that they bring up there. That's who they bring up there. They didn't grab her from nowhere. I told y'all, they know who they got. They didn't drag her out of nowhere. And it shouldn't surprise you, one more again. Okay, if you paying that little fella $500 a program, which probably ain't getting that, we already know. We already did the timeline when Trump did that Time magazine poster about Candace Owens. We already did the timeline. Folks, Candace Owens ain't had no money since the last 10 years. Candace Owens has not been making money for 10 whole years yet. Candace Owens basically had to be an intern and volunteer. But she has not had 10 years of revenue yet. That's how green and how fresh she really is into this. Remember, it was 2016 when they were saying, hey, you was getting evicted. You were getting evicted for not paying the rent in 2016. And then next thing you know, here comes PragerU, Turning Point, Daily Wire, right after 2016. I mean, they posted the damn documents. It's like, oh, you was getting evicted in 2016. Oh, man. So, yeah, they picked her up for nothing, for a song and a dance. In the financial dire straits she was in. By the way, one more question. How many white men did she have coming to bring her the bailout? Damn! By the way, y'all, when she was sitting there having to deal with all those situations, where were all the white men offering the bailout back then? Okay. All right. Oh, and need I remind you, remember, that was what they were going at her about then, remember? That's what they were going at her about then. They were saying that then because that's what they were on. They wanted to make sure she understood where the hell she was supposed to be at there. It's like, okay, we brought you in here to help the cause, but don't forget where you fall in line. Let me go ahead and throw this up here for you all right quick. Just in case folks forgot. See if I can do this. It's a little bit janky sometimes about putting that in there. But when they get ready to come for her, I'm just letting you all know these things are lurking in the background. They haven't forgotten about what they're going to do. When the day comes for Candace, they're going to be going at her about them white men. Just in case y'all are wondering, when the day comes, they're going to be going at her about the white men. Most likely it'll be some white women that they send for it, but they don't have to be. But they'll be going at her about the white men. Remember, this is what Donald Trump posted. This is what the President of the United States posted. Showing Candace Owens. And what does it say down here in the lower left-hand corner? Damn! White supremacy always takes both sides of the argument. So they are the same folk who cheer Candace on are the same ones that you can already see have telegraphed what they will be saying when they ultimately indict her. Their issue would be, by the way, niggers, when they get ready to go at her, they're going to use this allegation, and I challenge, who are the people in the right wing or MAGA who are going to defend Candace's right to sleep with white men?
Alrighty then.
I don't give a damn how much you all think those people love her or think they're enamored with her or think they like her. You tell me, who are the white maggots who, when these folks start going at her about this, when they go full Laura Loomer, who are her white allies in MAGA who are going to defend a colorblind society and say that we're a post-racial America and that it doesn't matter if Candace has all the rich, well-to-do white men wrapped around her pinky finger. Who do you think is going to be sitting there defending her right to do that? Even amongst what you might think of her staunchest fans, you tell me who's going to be stomping for her right to do that when these folks start going at her about that. Okay. All righty then. So no, they don't make this up as they go along. They know how they're going to do that. And when they eventually get ready to pull out their allegations or whatever, when they get ready to go at you, they already know how they're going to do that. They start prepping the soil for it. So this won't be any big surprise when it happens. And for Nick Fuentes and Dan Bilzerian and whatnot, this is why they're trying to stake out their claims now. They're trying to solidify their positions as much as they can. What they're really doing is further fracturing an already fractured thing. When the final epitaph is written on the tombstone of white supremacy, it'll really have come down to one thing. It died because it was fundamentally unjust. That's going to be the damn epitaph. It died because fundamentally it is unjust. It would be different if they were only arguing to be nativist. It would be different if they were only arguing about ethnicity. It would be different if that was all that they were really stomping for or all that they were really advocating for. That would be different. But the problem is white supremacy is based and founded on the concept of the necessity, listen carefully, the necessity to mistreat other people. That is a fundamental, essential quality of white supremacy. You can't really be part of the clique if you're not really an avid supporter of mistreating other people. You've got to be somebody who is okay victimizing innocent people, targeting innocent people, targeting children, starting conflicts, attacking people. You can't really be a legitimate white supremacist if you can't or won't do that. So by definition, you're required to be unjust. Okay, but the problem is you're still going to want to be a white supremacist even if there are no black people in the room. So the only thing left to you now is to mistreat each other. And this is where all of a sudden you start focusing and magnifying, okay, well, who here is the least white? Now that we've gotten rid of all the absolutely, inarguably black folk, now, which ones of you here are not white enough? We just got rid of all the not whites. Which ones of you here are not white enough? So that we can continue fueling this malevolent machine. That's really what's required to be able to do that. This is why when you leave them in the room alone with each other, they're going to start going at each other. Male and female, by the way. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer. I mean, they have been at each other's throats. I'm talking about viciously. Oh, man, if those two hoes ever meet up in person, I hope somebody's there with cameras rolling. Damn! It's going to be straight Jerry Springer. All right, let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. I got Blanco over here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Blanco?
What's up, Jason? Great broadcast. Man, you're right. That, like, when it really comes down to all these policies, all that they have at the very end of it, they're just arguing over the most nonsensical stuff ever. It really doesn't matter if a Mexican person globally hates black people, or if an Irish person hates black people, or if a Jewish person hates black people, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. If you're going to be oppressing the workers, if you're going to be, sending bombs over to oil-rich countries, it really doesn't matter if you're, a little bit Jewish, a little bit Irish, you're still operating under white supremacy. Because let's not forget the whole Greenland thing. Estee Lauder, the lady who created Estee Lauder, the lotion and stuff, her son ended up going to college with Donald Trump back in, whenever that they went to college. And long story short, that, they're all just like good friends with each other. They're all just a bunch of, country club friends with each other. It's just musical chairs for them. And then they trick you, or, they trick you into believing the psyop that, as long as, we all just hate black people, it'll be okay. Nah, dude.
They draw you into the psyop that if we give you a ticket to be a spectator in the arena, well, then that's just as good as you actually being on the team, right? I mean, we gave you a ticket, and hey, we even brought you a jersey. It says white supremacy on this. You got a ticket and a jersey, so you're watching the game. Don't bring your ass out here on this field. Security will knock your ass out if you come running down here. And don't try to go in the locker room or anything else. So, but you have a seat out here in the stands, right next to the Negroes, as a matter of fact. But don't worry, we'll get you in some different seats over here. We'll get you on the 50-yard line. Here's your ticket. Here's your jersey. Isn't this just as good as being on the Cowboys? You got the jersey and the ticket. Ain't that just as good as being on the field? And that's what they're doing. And there's a lot of folks, I mean, that's been the tried and true, scam they've been running on them. And most of them go for it. You bring up a good point also. In case somebody has noticed, in case nobody has noticed, and clearly they haven't, we're going to recolonize South America and the Caribbean. No, I do not for a moment believe that Cuba is off the menu yet. Not for a moment. Things ain't going well in Iran, but it's like, oh no, Cuba, the last thing we want to do is hurt you, but it's still on my list. So Venezuela got knocked off. And by the way, here's the killing thing. Venezuela got knocked off to thunderous applause. Y'all, you let a sitting U.S. president go down there and kidnap a damn president, and y'all sat there in Latino society cheering, clapping. Next up will be Cuba, cheering and clapping. In case you didn't notice, ain't those your peeps there? In case you didn't notice, in case you didn't realize it. No, whoa, that's them down there. It's like, okay. I'm glad you brought that to our attention, though. You got me thinking about that. Yeah, Venezuela, Cuba, by the way. Who are the folks clapping the loudest?
And they're going to keep on doing it.
Like they get a benefit from it.
Right. Like the thing that, you remember that video you did that, Andrew Tate was all excited about, the way that we tagged him and bagged him in Venezuela. The right wingers that were technically anti-war, they were only upset that it was wasting time and money and effort and resources. If we could have actually gone into Iraq in 2002 and done it in about 3 months, it would have been the greatest thing ever for them. You see, like, they're only just mad that it took 20 years. So them being anti-war has nothing to do with being anti-war. Has nothing to do with that shit. They love the fact that they went in at 3 a.m. in Venezuela and they tagged him and bagged him and it was done within 3 hours. They love that shit. They applauded it, like you said. They're going to do it to every other country in South America, and it's only going to be until it gets to them that it's finally going to get the pressure.
Here's the thing. They don't have to do that now, which was the whole point. Trump is leaning on Brazil to get them to accept, MasterCard and Visa, So all they got to do now, he even said that to everybody else who's down there, remember Venezuela. Remember them. So just in case you think about getting slick at the mouth, remember what we just did. You said I wouldn't do it. Okay. So, hey, we can do this the easy way or the real easy way. So what's it going to be? So they don't have to go kidnap. Everybody else looking around talking about, well, I'm not trying to be next to get kidnapped. So let me see if we can work something out. Because I'm not trying to be once Trump started talking about, by the way, don't y'all be dealing drugs and y'all got some drug folk too. And that's your warning. That's your warning that your ass can disappear. And he doesn't have to do it now. The rest of them are trying to figure out how to not end up getting took up out of there. So between that and Cuba, it's like, yeah, we dead ass. Everybody else is shook now. And that's the way white supremacy works. So, and one more thing is that everybody talks about this so much. They talk about Africa all the time and divide and conquer and all these folk here in tribalism. The Latinos got a whole bunch of tribalism. Anybody who's lived in Texas, LA, or whatever, you know damn well. I mean, they will check you quick. If you call a Mexican South American, if you call a Colombian a Mexican, I learned that as a teenager in Louisiana. I mean, you call a Cuban a Dominican, you call a Puerto Rican a Mexican, they will check you quick. They will check you quick, fast, and in a hurry about that. So
it's only funny because
they'll be the first ones to let you know what Venezuela's problem is Venezuela's problem. They ain't in Brazil, well, we ain't worried about it. Oh, they ain't in Mexico, we ain't worried about it. So the tribalism thing, they're right for that. Then when you got things like Argentina, it's just like, okay, there's the ones who think they white supremacists and the ones who know they white supremacists. That's basically what we're dealing with. Okay.
No, I mean, that's the only difference between the two people in Argentina. But I'll land the plane with this. This is a great conversation. If anyone is worried about if Nick Fuentes is Jewish or whatever, and remember the Aryan Brotherhood in prison in the California section, two of those guys were Jewish, or they had Jewish roots somewhere in their lineage and whatnot. And let's not forget that there was a guy in Germany, I want to say in around 1936, 37, kind of coming up, I want to say. There was a guy in Germany that was a quarter Jewish who was a Rothschild, if we're going all the way in there. But he was a quarter Jewish and brunette. And you had an entire country of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people saluting a brunette guy with a mustache. Don't talk to me about, it's important that we keep the white race without, Jewish people.
Well,
you guys let an entire guy,
The issue is that the world has unfortunately been forced to get into this nonsensical distraction of, and I talked about this last night because it needs to be in proper context. Everything is focused on black folk and what we're going to do about these blacks over here. And I mean, they mention black all the damn time, barely mention white, because it just needs to be understood. Because once they start talking about white, they're going to start fighting over, well, who's that? With black folk, you're all one big nigga. So we can agree on who ain't white enough. The disagreement comes with, well, who is white enough? Now that's where the fight, where they will break down fighting, is when we start getting into, well, who is white enough? Because this goes into other conversations. Tucker Carlson has gotten sucked down that rabbit hole. He had to admit the Afghans, are basically white people. They're not basically white people. They are white people. When you start getting into that, it's like, oh, well, are we authorized to discriminate against them if they are in fact white people? Do you see the next step you just went to? Wait a minute now, we're mistreating them because they're not white. Well, actually, they are white people. Oh, you mean we can't mistreat them then? You mean we have to give them resources and treat them? We can't mistreat them? So for those of you who are wondering about what white supremacy is based on, it is based on your ability to mistreat others. But first we have to determine who is eligible to get mistreated. Because it's like, okay, well, I can't just be one white person here. So as a group, who are we going to target? once we start blurring those lines, it's like, well, those Afghans actually they are white, and those Indians actually they're white too, and then it's like Germans and Irish, and well, they're white. Well, we're not arguing over that anymore. But do we really gotta take the Indians? It's like, okay. And Nick Fuentes is yelling to you about Indians because he's not one. Nick Fuentes is perfectly happy to kick Indians out of whiteness because he's not one. However, if you start the discussion of kicking the Spanish out of whiteness, then he's going to start yelling to you about the Catholic Church and Spain's role in colonization and slavery. That's what he's going to do. The only issue he has is, okay, he doesn't have a seat at the table for being Indian, but he does have one at the table for being Spanish. So he's holding on to that one. And that's what you end up doing. So if they ever start the conversation about who is white, and who qualifies, and who is no longer eligible to get mistreated, it's going to go left immediately. Not later, immediately. And I'm being nice about the ethnicity part. Remember, there's also a cultural element to it also. So when you start getting into that, for example, even among the so-called Angles and Saxons, remember, they're always fighting about who are the Catholics and who are the Protestants. So in case you all were thinking, well, if we can just get down to that last 10% of white folk, the fighting ain't stopping. The fighting's not going to stop, people. It is not. They're going to find something to go at each other about, to squad up at and to group over. They're going to find something. The only question is whether or not you going to be on the menu when they do. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, it's just like you said. This is why it's called the United States. It's all one big, colony of ex-British, Protestants or whatever the fuck the story is, right? Whatever the psyop is. But it's all a bunch of white people here, with their plantations and their industry and whatnot. But God forbid that, a North Carolinian technically be aligned with a South Carolinian. No. They're a little too extreme over there. I don't really like the people in Pennsylvania, but you're all white. Like, if anything happens, you guys are all white. No, it's just, so yeah, like they'll always find little pockets to not like each other but they all understand you're dark, you're white. Like that's what they understand. So yeah, it's great broadcast.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. In the chat room there, Code is the leader. They're not arguing over make-believe stories, though. They are arguing over a power dynamic. If you don't realize what the real goal is, the real goal is who is going to be authorized to gather together the Earth's resources, starting first and foremost with the human resources. Who gonna be Big Daddy at the top, capitalizing off of all of the resources of those beneath you? Whoever is at the top of the power hierarchy will gain the benefits of collecting and sucking up all the resources of those beneath you in the hierarchy. So they found a way to be able to cooperate based on race. So that was the one thing they could agree on. So they all could agree to collaborate based on their mutual interest of preserving their race. And everyone else, we can now focus against them because they're beneath us. So it was about how do you facilitate this power dynamic? And I assure you, that's not make-believe. It's very real. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. We got I Am a Woman. Thank you for the warning. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, Jason. How are you this evening?
All right, what's on your mind?
So I have a comment and then I have a question. So, my comment is that everything that's being exposed, like how people are being exposed, and then just how, when it comes to our delineation, I can't hardly stand Trump, but at the same time, I am liking the fact that he is in office so that people that thought that they were these tokens and so special and so much better than those of us that, are of FBA lineage. I'm glad that people are getting like their wake up calls. Because like even in my line of work, I work with a lot of Africans and Filipinos. I work in healthcare. And so like I have done this for 11 years now. And I am just now in the last probably 6 to 8 months, finally for the first time ever hearing any of the nurses that are from other countries actually like complain about like how they're treated. Before it was like they would do anything to worship and like basically be their little tokens, and they would just take it. But you would have Black Americans that would be around, and like when you talk crazy to me or, something like that, we would address it. And so you're starting to see them now kind of complain about stuff or, say little things where you can tell like they get in their wake up call that they are not as special as they want. These people will use you. And
well, here's the way it usually goes there. They're newcomers and they're trying to jockey for a position and they're trying to use that to their advantage. So if they think that it will help them gain an advantage over you, they will gladly tolerate the abuse or whatever there to prove to the white overstructure that they should get a privileged position over you. The problem occurs when they achieve their goal. That's when the problem occurs. All right, well, you've achieved that goal, that short-term goal you were going for, but you are still being treated the same. You didn't get above them and get treated differently. You got above them and are still being treated exactly the same. Now you're beginning the grumbling because you see, where do you go from here? You've already done the only leapfrog you can do. So now this is what it's going to be. So now they grumble even more. So what do you do when you don't have another place for you to elevate to and they're still continuing the exact same treatment there? What do? Well, if you're the white establishment, what you're going to do is find a crumb to throw to them there. You'll go ahead and get them to stop grumbling, but at the end of the day, they don't have anything they can do. Where are they going to go? You're going to get treated the same way everywhere. So it doesn't matter where you go. You're in a system of white supremacy. You did not come here on your own. You were allowed to come here. And as it stands, you are going to be serving the beast and serving the machine. And this is what the cost of doing that is. So they thought they were doing something slick and gaining an advantage over you all, but it was just a short-term thing. And I think what you're trying to articulate is actually symbolic, because it's not even really technically they one or two may get somewhere or whatever, but they're never going to get in a position where they're calling any shots like that. They're never going to get in a position where they're doing that. So you've got this symbolic white camaraderie, but you don't actually get to be a member of the family. That's not happening.
Right. And like in my last contract that I was on, there was a specific woman. She was from Nigeria, and she kept saying, "Well, you don't know how to play the game right. You don't know how to play the game." When they say something, when they say something, I said, there's everybody that goes to work and clocks in day to day. We're playing the game. The game to get up and come to work on time, do my job. That is a part of the game. It's a part of the game is not letting people disrespect me, talk to me any kind of way, designate me as their, you picked up so many hours last week, so now I'm acting funny towards you because you don't want to work these hours. So then, you know what I'm saying? Like when you ask for more, then it's like you got to beg, like that. I try to tell her it's a difference between every single person in America has to go to work and comply with whatever the employer has for them to do as their duties. But aside from my actual duties that are described in my job description, I don't have to do anything that, makes me feel uncomfortable or that you're taking advantage of me. And that's what they don't have in them. They don't have that kind of heart to where it's like, I done seen the things my people went through in this country. Like, if you think,
well, they've disregarded that. That is the coon slogan right there. What you said is playing the game and I'm not playing games.
Nigga, please.
I don't play no damn games like that. I don't play.
Exactly.
I don't. That's not a game to me. What they're describing there, that hazing or disrespecting or whatnot and denigrating, that's not a game to me. That's not a playful thing. But for everybody here who hears that kind of stuff, I want you all, if somebody says that to you, I want you to just ask one question, which will stop all that. And the one question is, what game are we playing where people get to disrespect me? Just tell me exactly, what is the game I'm playing?
Right.
Where they get where I'm here to allow being disrespected. Just tell me what the game is I'm playing, that's one of the rules.
Right. Because there was even one evening when one of the ladies, and she's very nice, she came by my hotel room and we went and, got in the hot tub, and she came to the room and we were talking about stuff, and she was like, "Oh my God, Arbra, what if they hear you? What if they hear you?" And I'm like, "Hear me? What, you think somebody got something in here in the room or hear through the walls or something?" Like, I'm not saying anything that's wrong. I'm not saying anything that's wrong at all. So, like, you should not be, I can speak and say whatever I want. I'm not saying anything disrespectful. And they just, I don't know, they just take every single thing like you have to be afraid or like you have to be scared. And like I said, I'm not playing again. And the second thing I wanted to say is in regards to when it comes to Mr. Fuentes, that total thing, this whole thing just totally cracks me up, because I kind of feel like I'm wondering, okay, this is what I want to ask you. Do you think that, and if you covered it, it's because I was traveling and I didn't hear it all, but did you cover, or do you think it has anything to do with his recent interview with Hunter?
No. There have been plenty of rumors about this before. This isn't new. And certainly what's happening is that Nick is, as schizophrenic individuals like himself, he's trying to figure out what to do, because here's the problem. In white supremacy, once you break ground on something, you're not the new kid on the block within a year or two. Everybody else, once you become successful at it, you start suffering from copycats. So it's very easy to be a white supremacist. Now, especially on the internet, now you're competing against a bunch of other people who want your slot. So it becomes that kind of thing. So Nick is trying to pivot. We saw this with Richard Spencer. We saw this with others. When he was on Piers Morgan, and I called it when he went on Piers Morgan, he's trying to moderate a little bit there, because, doing the super extreme stuff and the edgelord stuff and all that mess, you got too many other dudes who are willing to go way further than you. Once you say you don't believe in the Holocaust or whatever, and you get an audience for it, it's going to be too easy for somebody else to go even beyond that. So it becomes a competition to do that. So Nick has been actually trying to vacillate back towards the middle, not because that's really where he wants to be, but because there's less competition there. That's what he's really been trying to do. So he's getting off into politics and discussing specific candidates in a way he wasn't before. And that's led him to have some criticism of Dan Bilzerian. So, of course, this is the natural conclusion of that right there. So, no, that's more of what it is. The real issue here is the environment that he's helped create. Because I said this already before. I said, of all the people that you hardcore white supremacists, Tucker Carlson and others are inviting in, y'all are stupid as hell to bring in Nick Fuentes. Because Nick ain't got no love for any of you. That's also, right. He's more imbalanced than you, and he's got much less to lose than you. So as far as he's concerned, the happy ending in his eyes is burning this whole damn thing down, because at the end of the day, he knows he doesn't actually have any inheritance in the land. He knows he doesn't actually have anything that he can get. So whatever he's going to get, he got to get up front, because he's not going to have a legacy with it. So as far as he's concerned, all of you have had the last decade to make nice to him. And you didn't do it until, in his little sick mind, he cleared a lane and he settled the land to make it safe to do what he's doing. So as far as he's concerned, he don't owe you nothing. You had your chance since Charlottesville to be on the Nick Fuentes train, and y'all were calling him weird and wouldn't invite him on and wouldn't acknowledge his existence. So he's carrying a grudge about all that. So if you all talk to him, he's only going to go on your show, because your shows, in order to show his audience, see, they knew who I was the whole time. They all were just hating on me. And once he finishes talking to you, as soon as he walks out the room, he's going to start stabbing y'all in the back, which is exactly what he did. Candace Owens, Ian Carroll, Tucker Carlson, you name it. Because he doesn't like any of you. He's just using you to show his audience, yes, I'm really that big. I'm really that dude. They really do know me at these high levels. So you all should rock with me. That's all it's really about. And now he's going to try to pivot to the center with no friends or allies at this point because he doesn't have any more.
That's what I was about to say.
And but as far as he's concerned, he's never had any. He doesn't trust any of them. So, I said from the beginning, Nick Fuentes has already shown me that he's made the calculus that there's more money and more prestige and power to be had by him going at you guys than there is with him collaborating with you. That he's got more to gain by being Candace Owens' adversary than he does being her ally / flunky. A lot more he can gain from beefing with you than from collaborating with you. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Just recognize it's a power dynamic. He's using it like internet content. He's using those metrics to decide who he works with and who he doesn't, and who he goes at and who he doesn't. And what he's determined is that he benefits by going at anybody who steps up or whatever, anybody who shows up. He's going to find something about them to make an issue of, because he has much more to gain by being adversarial to people than he does by being collaborating with them. And so that's why anybody who thinks, okay, we'll pat him on the back and we'll be collaborating. Nick doesn't want to collaborate with any of you. Nick does not have any interest in collaborating with any of you. Can't you all tell he's a little white supremacist hermit? He has no desire to link up with y'all. Pause. No, I said that from the beginning. When I said from the beginning, Candace Owens, Nick is going to stab your ass in the back. No sooner than he walked out of that studio, she tried to tongue kiss a rattlesnake. And as soon as he left, he went right back to his show and told everybody what a no-good host Candace was. And she's sitting there shocked. She's like, whoa, where'd this come from? It's been coming for the last decade. He has no use for you. Far as he's concerned, if you all did not acknowledge him for how great he thinks he is a decade ago, all that time that he felt like when you were at the Daily Wire or when you were at Turning Point, remember, he was always beefing with Charlie Kirk. So as far as he's concerned, you're Charlie Kirk's girl. You weren't standing up for him at Turning Point. So now, as far as he's concerned, he doesn't owe you anything because he's built his own. And he's not totally wrong about that. He's like, hey, you ain't got nothing to offer me because I built me. I built mine despite the odds, despite you and Charlie trying to undermine me and the Groypers. If that doesn't sound like sexual assault, what does? But yeah, you and Charlie Kirk tried to undermine me and the Groypers. And we played past that and we overcame it. And Tucker Carlson, you and Fox News tried to bury me and the Groypers. You all were hating on us. Well, we overcame that too. So now that he's got a chance to go at y'all, he's going at you. He does not want to reconcile with you. He doesn't want to collaborate with you. He doesn't see anything about y'all working together. That's not, as far as he's concerned. Hey, I transcended y'all. Y'all tried to hold me back. You tried to undermine me. You tried to bury me. And I was able to overcome all that. So now, if I do get in your presence, we're going to talk for a minute because I know it'll get views. So I want those to get views so that I get more exposure. But when people follow up with me after that, then I'm going to tell them about how y'all are no good. I went to talk to Tucker. I talked to Tucker Carlson, and Tucker's dad is CIA, and Tucker's, Fox News. These Trump rump kissers and. No, you can't collaborate with someone like him. Because the only use he has for you is trying to do you in. He doesn't want to collaborate with you. He just wants to see how he can use you, but he doesn't want to collaborate with you. And furthermore, he doesn't respect the hierarchy. There's the other thing. Nick doesn't respect the hierarchy. Nick does not respect the pecking order. Candace Owens respects the pecking order. It's always been the same pecking order, right up under White Daddy's ass cheeks. What? Candace Owens respects the pecking order, but Nick Fuentes neither acknowledges nor respects the pecking order. He does not see himself as Tucker Carlson's subordinate. Not socially, not in media, not in the movement. He does not see himself as Tucker Carlson's subordinate. He doesn't come around here like, well, Tucker's up here and I'm down here. Nick does not see things that way. Nor would he accept it even if he did see it that way. He would not accept it. He's like, you might be a big shot at Fox News, but you don't run nothing over here in Groyper world. You don't run nothing over here. So what do you do when you have this inconsolable, insatiable, unsatisfiable malcontent? What do you do? You can't do anything to placate him. You can't do anything to pacify him. He does not want to collaborate with you. Yes, you both share similar goals, but he has no desire to share that space with you. There's the issue. He's perfectly fine accomplishing the goal just so long as you ain't gonna be there. So what do you do with somebody like that? That you know full well the whole damn time you both can agree we don't like the niggas. However, you also know in the back of his mind he's thinking I ain't too big on you neither. What do you do with that? Talking about a damn partnership. We're going to collaborate. Collaborate with what? He's already sitting over there writing your name on his list on his hit list. So no. And even if you do everything quote unquote right, he'll make up a reason to go at you. This is where the you're not white enough comes from, people. What did Vivek Ramaswamy do bad? What did Vivek Ramaswamy do wrong? What did Kash Patel do wrong? They're going at Kash Patel simply because he exists. What did Kash Patel say bad about Nick Fuentes? What did he say bad about the Groypers? What did he say bad about Laura Loomer and the Lunatics and the MAGA maggots? Okay, maybe you could say Vivek Ramaswamy and the H-1B visa thing. Okay, well, what did Kash Patel do then? Okay, you got a beef with Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay, fine. What about Kash? When did he say any of that stuff? He didn't say any of those things. And you went at him the same way. How about JD Vance's wife, Usha Vance, ain't said nothing except she thinks her husband is swanky, which I'm just like, lie. Okay, well, do what you do, Usha. You know, I don't know. One of these days I might need an investment banker. I'll keep your number. I'll keep your number. Don't call me. I'll call you if it ever comes up. What did Usha Vance do? What did she say wrong? What wrong position did she take? Other than up under JD Vance, literally. What was the wrong position what's the wrong political position that Usha Vance has taken? What not white enough statement did she make? What woke statement did she make? For her to become a target, she's the wife of the vice president. Folks, when was the last time a vice president's wife was an issue? When was the last time a vice president's wife was an issue? For any reason. And yet they made it a point. Hey, Usha, ain't she Indian? Okay, give her the work. Well, what did she do wrong? The heifer was born. Well, what did she say? She said enough. What? No. What did she say? She said hello. That's literally where you're at. They were on Cash from the beginning. Cash was never cool. Cash was never cool. Cash was never aight. Cash was never in. They had a problem with him from the beginning, you Indian. That's what you did wrong. So what you're saying is, well, he was born. The crime you committed was being born. That's what it's become. So Nick is going to be very, very happy to grab anybody and everybody and vote them off the island. The only problem is they've hit him in an area where he can't really fight back very well. He can swing back, but it's just all this really does is exacerbate the wound. All it really does is exacerbate the wound. And before anybody even tries it there, for all you MAGA maggots out there and whatnot, you all try to find some third party. You always try to find some third party to blame for things, to say that this is their fault. So before any of you ass clowns try to sit up here and talk about, oh, this is because of Jews or Israel. No, it's not. It's because you're white supremacists. That's it.
And deal with it.
This doesn't go to anybody else for any other reason. You can't get along with anybody because your entire ideology is built on conflict with anyone and everyone. You can't be peaceful. You can't be agreeable. You can't be civilized. You can't be pacified. You can't just sit and be okay. Your entire worldview centers on senseless, endless conflict because you're all screwed up in the head. And that's the only thing that you can think of that motivates you to work together. If you all have a third party that you can focus on demonizing and oppressing, that's the only thing that stops you from going at each other, is having a mutual enemy. So your government and your movements and your social leaders and your philosophers, that's what they spent the last 1,000 years doing. They couldn't get you to just work together because it's the right thing to do. Because everything's built on power, which means if you're getting something, I must be losing something. Even if I'm sitting at the top and I'm sitting on 99% of everything. If I have to give up so much as 1/100th of 1%, well, you're getting something because I'm losing. And so it becomes that. And the only way that they could get you barbarians to cooperate for any real length of time was to provide you with a mutual enemy, even if it was one they had to make up. Which is why they were probably so damn glad when they finally could get a boat that didn't sink to make it either to Africa or North America. Oh, good. Finally, some non-white people we can focus on. All right, now we can stop slugging it out with each other for a little while anyway. Oh, good, we found a mutual third-party enemy we can finally get you Neanderthals to focus on. And you can concentrate all that hostile, violent energy on them. See, we can work together. Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about this. And the problem is that Neil has lately been saying a whole bunch of wacky stuff, but Neil said that the space race was powered by war and that he didn't see going to Mars working unless there was a military aspect, unless it was a military agenda driving it, because otherwise it wouldn't work, because the space race was really just an adjunct of the Cold War, and that was the only thing that would motivate the government enough and motivate the society enough to pour the proper resources into it to make it work. Folks, when you think about it, that explains the great European colonial project. Conflict is the only thing that could convince them to keep putting the necessary resources into it to make it work. Once you remove the conflict catalyst from it, they stopped cooperating and started whacking at each other again. So everything has to be framed in the terms of conquest and warfare, because that's the only thing that motivates them to cooperate. The second that you remove that, they just start whacking at each other. So when you take a look at all the so-called innovations we've had in the planes, trains, and automobiles and bridges and this, that, and the other, black folk could do it simply because, hey, we're trying to innovate and be creative. But the white supremacists could not do it unless it was this act of quasi-warfare, that they were conquering something. For us, the innovations we did were not about conquest. It was about creativity. It didn't require a warfare contingent. But for them, it was all analogous to conquest, to warfare. So they can't complete a bridge, they can't complete a highway, can't do a skyscraper unless we remind everybody that this is a monument to the empire of our conquest and manifest destiny. We can't just build Interstate 40 connecting the East Coast to the West Coast because it needs to be done. It has to be a symbol of manifest destiny from sea to shining sea and conquest and white supremacy and la la la. It can't just be, hey, ain't this cool to do this because it's great. It's got to be about, see what we're taking from others. Eminent domain and domination, and look who we're making homeless. And it's all, that's what they focus on. That's the motivation. Which is why I was able to predict to you all that if Trump got reelected, the party is going to last for approximately 24 hours, and then 26 hours later, all these folk who are sitting there congratulating each other and celebrating are going to immediately break down into fisticuffs with each other. And not just at the high level either, remember? Folks, we ain't just talking about at the high level or the federal level. Remember the e-girls who were going at each other, Morgan Ariel and them, talking about you going at each other about who was the biggest slut at CPAC. What? Remember? They're not even politicians. Hell, they're not even podcasters. They're just wackadoodles on Twitter. And yet, in the middle of all this, way before today, they were going at each other about who's the biggest, which one of them was the biggest or is the biggest slut at CPAC or Turning Point. What the hell does that have to do with anything of value to the white supremacist movement? And yet, that's what they're doing. They're not elected officials. They're not power brokers at Turning Point. They're none of that. And yet, they were going at each other too. Explain that one to me. If their movement is not fundamentally based on conflict. And that if there are no Negroes in the room, don't worry, they'll find a way to start fighting with each other. And then you have some Democrat ass-kissing pot roast Roland Martin sit up here and tell you that we should be worried about these folks winning. I was the one who told you all that once they quote-unquote win, that's when the losing starts. Which one of us was correct, Roland or me? And now they've lived out exactly what I told you. What I got to be afraid of. If I had my druthers, I would increase the budget for Nick Fuentes and Dan Bilzerian. When the right-wing civil war kicked off, I told all of y'all, oh, don't worry, we're here to fan the flames. We're here to fan the flames. Chill for what? This is an all-villains cast. We can't possibly lose. Now it's our turn to take both sides of the argument.
Damn!
Now it's our turn to take both sides of the argument. It doesn't matter which one we choose. We can't lose. We have no special affinity for either one of you. It doesn't matter which one of you gains the upper hand. Oh, man. Isn't it amazing Roland Martin didn't talk like this? Now, why is it that him and Joy Reid and them didn't talk like this, and now they're all imitating us and trying to talk like us for 2 good seconds? Don't fall for it. They'll talk like us for 2 good seconds, and then they'll go back to cooning again. So, yeah. But oh no, arm them both. Arm them to the teeth. Give them microphones. Hell yeah, I'm going to let y'all know exactly what they're doing. You're going to get the day-to-day update on the white supremacist civil war. Oh boy, look, Nick's going back at him here. Oh, Candace is firing back here. Tucker Carlson tried to mediate. Oh, Tucker just caught a stray. Oh, man. Oh, look, Tucker's going in on Trump. Trump's back on Tucker again. Oh, this is getting ugly. Ben Shapiro is... Oh, man, now they are openly hoping for the downfall of Daily Wire? So let me get this straight. 2 years ago, we were talking about how bad it was the Daily Wire was there. Now, 2 years later, the white supremacists, they're leading the fight to take Daily Wire down. And you wanted me to stop Trump from getting reelected. Why? No, let them sit right there and knock a damn pothole in each other's heads. I'll sell the sledgehammers. I do want you all to understand something right here, though. This does open up a terrifying new avenue for the white supremacists. Terrifying for them, not for the rest of us. This opens up a terrifying new avenue for them. Wait until the females start picking this up. Y'all wait until the females start picking this up. Now, right now, the only thing that's helping them is that they don't really have a lot of female voices out there, but the ones they do ain't getting along. Show me 2 of them females who get along with each other. Show me 2. I can show you females that are subservient to others. Candace Owens is subservient to Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly ain't cool with Candace. I mean, she ain't friends with Candace. She said that. She's also not friends with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Damn sure not friends with Laura Loomer. So you can't get them together to collaborate. That ain't happening. And when they do start going at each other, it's going to be about who's not white enough. Please understand that. When they do break down at each other, it's going to be about who's not white enough. Now, why don't we just go ahead and war game how that fight plays out? Well, Candace Owens might be the most popular of the group from a popular standpoint, not necessarily a media standpoint. Okay, but we're not going to let a negress run this damn thing, so that ain't happening. Laura Loomer claims to be Jewish, although there's a lot of questions about that, but she claims to be Jewish. Okay, well, you're eliminated. Well, you would think that that would just automatically, by default, crown Megyn Kelly. But you see, then if somebody is really smart, what they'll do is remind Megyn that she's Irish. What? Damn! So you see, you're actually in the same category as Laura Loomer is, less than white. Don't care what you've colored your hair. So do you see how this becomes crabs in a barrel? As I said, there's a reason that they don't want us invited into the conversation. They don't want us to remind people that, if you're not Anglo-Saxon and you Irish and Italians and Greeks and Poles and you're Russian, you all are not. Just to remind you, folks, do y'all realize how hard, listen to me carefully, do you realize how hard the American social order has worked to squash those conversations? Ask yourselves, when was the last time you went to YouTube and any of your favorite YouTubers in the top 10 have discussed this subject? I'll wait. Come on now. Now, you would figure that with all these so-called outlets that they have on here and all these personalities, there would be somebody in the top 10, top 20 who would have broached the subject about, by the way, what is white and who isn't. You would have figured they'd have dealt with this. Hey, that they come from an Irish background. You would have figured that that would have been a discussion somewhere, and yet it hasn't been. Okay, folks, we're talking about broadcast television, broadcast radio, cable television, print media, newspapers, not even YouTube. They don't discuss that subject at all, anywhere. Isn't that amazing? That across the board uniformly, this is a verboten subject. We don't discuss that at all about who's actually white. Shouldn't we be having a conversation about that? Those who come from Irish lineage, shouldn't that? So their grandfathers, their grandmothers, they didn't have these. None of y'all had these conversations in the family. You've only been here for a century. So you mean your grandparents didn't tell you about this? Of course they did. Of course they did. So why is it that this isn't commonplace? Why is it that those of Italian lineage, they're lockstep with white supremacy? They're not discussing any of these things about, by the way, this is how we're treated by the other so-called whites. Why is it they don't do that? Shouldn't this be a discussion that CNN or CBS or somebody should have had by now in the last, 30 years? And yet it's not there. So I'm reminding you all again, they'll talk about black folk all day. Black folk, black on black crime, black distinguisher. Is Kamala Harris black enough? Oh, they'll have that conversation, y'all. Is Kamala Harris black enough? When was the last time that they had a conversation about which white politician is white enough? Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. Now, they do that all the time. While they'll bring together a panel real quick to talk about who's not black enough, what they don't do is assemble a panel to discuss who isn't white enough. Now, they'll talk about suburban white voters. What they won't talk about is which white politician is white enough to represent those suburban white voters. They'll very quickly ask you if Obama's black enough and Kamala Harris, is she black enough? And they have no problem hosting a racial discussion about anyone and everyone except bringing up that very ugly, thorny subject of white folk. Then all of a sudden, everywhere you go, that doesn't come up. Even on the internet. Now, over here, they're breaking down about the Jewish thing, but I'm like, just please understand, if you want to know where everything falls apart, when they go back to reminding you about the Irish, the Italians, and the Greeks, when they go back to doing that, it's like, okay, then the wall falls apart. It falls apart right there. When you start reminding them about those ugly old wounds, it's just, well, y'all kind of just agreed to get up and walk off. But by the way, did you ever actually settle that? Did you all ever actually settle that? Or did you just decide that you would no longer make an issue of these less than whites being here? But that you still remember that they're not really white. See, there's a reason why they'll bring that Allison chick on CNN. They won't have conversations like this. I didn't say a comment. I did not say a comment. I'm talking about a full hour-long panel discussion. I'm talking about that. You know, so you can start a national conversation about whether or not they actually agree on these things. Because, you see, they told you conversation's over. Everybody stop talking about it. But in reality, did they ever actually settle that? Or is there discontent lurking right beneath the surface that the American social order is working very hard to make sure doesn't erupt into a full-scale, full-blown discussion? Need I remind you all that Nick Fuentes' claim to fame is being able to tell you all who are the legitimate heirs of quote-unquote Western civilization. Did you all get that? Nick Fuentes' claim to fame is that he's going to be the authority who will dictate to all of you who are the legitimate heirs of Western civilization. He's already stated that the Jews are not legitimate heirs. As a matter of fact, they are anathema and are have animosity toward Western civilization. He's already said that by default, Jews have animosity toward Western civilization, so therefore they could never be legitimate heirs of it. Oh, okay. Well, what about those other folk there? What about them? And remember, we already covered that Nick tried to go back to the Greeks and the Romans. Well, wow, Nick, really? Which, by the way, nobody has been there to check him on. And they won't, because the problem is when you send in white people to defang a white supremacist, you could only send in. Most white people won't say the things that are necessary because they have a vested interest in preserving their own position in it. So you see, when Nick starts talking about Greeks and Romans, and then you remind them, actually, no, those are not the folks you just named. Those are not white people. Not until the last 80 years. So now you're going to try to draft them into whiteness? How the hell are you going to do that? Because the time period you're referring to, they were not white people. So you're messing up already. Yeah, but you have to have somebody there who's going to say that. All right, but whoever is the white person who says that, they are going to be giving up their white card. That's the issue. Whoever checks him on that is effectively going to be arguing to delegitimize their own white interests. Are they going to be really willing to do that part. Because you see, we'll do it in a heartbeat. That's not the issue for us. But these folk they keep sending to him, are they going to do that? Piers Morgan is not going to do that. Piers Morgan, with his white supremacist self, he is not going to put historical whiteness in its proper context when these white supremacists start talking. He's not going to do that. They're not going to do that because at the end of the day, they are interested in preserving their interest in it. You would have to have somebody who is completely divested from it and who is willing to accept the consequences of that, who would be able to articulate that properly. And when that happens, Nichols starts stammering and stuttering and falling all over himself. And then it starts a very ugly conversation about, by the way, who is really white. Folks, they don't want to have that. They do not want to break down into a conversation of, by the way, who's the white person in here. They don't want that because remember, with whiteness comes the privileges. So if you start the discussion about who isn't white, then what you're really saying is that you are abandoning your white privileges. Now, who is going to sit there and argue for that? That they hereby acknowledge that they are no longer eligible for their historical white privileges. Who's gonna do that one? We are going to expose Nick Fuentes for the liar and fraud that he is, and in the process, we'll open up this can of worms where everyone starts talking about, by the way, who's at the top of the white hierarchy. Do you all realize how close America is to that? Do you realize they understand that America is riding on the razor's edge? Do you all understand that they know just how quickly and how close they are to that kind of thing occurring? When they start talking about whatever in the hell heritage Americans are, it all comes back to who are the legitimate heirs and conversely, who are not. Why are they so concerned with that? Because the legitimate sons and daughters are the ones at the top of the pyramid. Everyone else is beneath them and subject to their whims. If you give up your white card, you are saying that you are volunteering to leave the privileges at the top of the pyramid. Who is chomping at the bit to do that? If you undermine Nick Fuentes too much, you'll be doing that. I don't give a damn how many black prostitutes and crackheads that Hunter Biden went slumming with during his drug binges. What? Damn! I also know who Hunter Biden's daddy is. So, I'm not walking around with blinders on. No, you're not the person to have this conversation here. That might look cute on camera, but I'm skeptical about your commitment to deconstructing white supremacy, especially since you're trying to reestablish your credentials within it. I'm skeptical of that. So I want you all to understand that what you're seeing here, they're nibbling around the edges by accusing folks of being Jewish. They're nibbling around the edges. But at the grassroots, the purity contest is in full swing. That fishback guy down there in Florida, the purity contest is in full swing. And the crazy part is, remember, most of these people flunk the purity test. This is the real damn crime of this. The folks who were doing the most yelling, they're actually the ones who have failed the purity test. They don't qualify. They've already failed it. They're getting on the internet and they're just hoping that nobody else notices. That's what it's become. That's what it's become. So I'm doing my job here to let you all know, by the way, a new front has opened up in the white supremacist civil war. Now they're accusing each other of being Jewish. Oh, man. And who is qualified to stop them? Because there's nobody there's nobody really riding in the Jewish car right now. Right now, there's not a lot of support in the Jewish car. I'm not saying that I approve of that. I'm just saying there's not a whole lot of support in the Jewish car right now. Certainly not among the MAGA maggots. There's no support over there. So who's going to come riding to the rescue? When you have this ever-present undercurrent of, disqualifying each other on the grounds of not being white enough. Well, okay, where does this stop? Where does this end? I wanted you all to know that this is what power has done to them. I want you all to understand that this is what power has done to them, is power has made them more what they already are, and it's emboldened them to go to extremes. Things that they should be whispering behind closed doors, they are having open brawls in the street over it, simply to get social media points or to get a few more followers on the internet. Things that ultimately aren't really worth the amount of resources and effort to the fight that they're putting into it. And I'm also telling you that this will result in permanent wounds. This is not going to go away. I need you all to understand that. This is going to be generational. I'm not overstating it. I'm not exaggerating it. This is going to be generational. This thing right here about going at folk because they might be Jewish or going at folk because they might be Mexican, this is going to be generational. Just understand that the wounds that are inflicted here, these folk are going to be enemies for life. I cannot overstate that. These people are going to be enemies for life. They are going to dig in their heels. This is not about ideology anymore. Damn it, this is about bloodlines. And this schism that has opened here, it is going to be about that. You are going to be hearing about this for the remainder of your days. I need you to understand that so that you can position yourself properly within the new social American order schism that's opening. This is going to continue for the remainder of your lives. They're telling themselves they're going to keep fighting till there's a winner. What I'm saying, though, is that you all started fighting over who will be disinherited from whiteness. That does not avail itself to a, quote, winner, because nobody wants to give up their white privileges, even if they're less than white. So this is not going to go away. What may happen is that there may be some other issues where it subsides for a little bit. However, at a personal level, no, this is the last time that everybody's going to be meeting up at the country club and sharing nigger jokes. This will be the last time about that. And our job is to make sure that we broadcast it to as many people as possible, so that this conversation does not go silent, because that's not at all what we want. We want this to continue. We want them to keep talking. As a matter of fact, let's throw a few more logs on the fire and let them keep talking about that, and let them insist on their litmus tests. Let them impose them. Let them start kicking everybody out of whiteness, either because you're not from Northern Europe, or you're not Anglo-Saxon, or because you're not Catholic, or you're not Protestant, or because you part your hair on the wrong side. What? Or whatever. Hey, you white women aren't submissive enough. We'll go get us an Asian. Let them sit up here and keep fracturing their litmus tests until they've turned themselves into schizophrenic blobs of jelly just jiggling down the street. As you all know, when you're dealing with great evil organisms, they collapse from within before they get knocked down from outside. They get knocked down from within before they get pummeled from without, so keep that in mind. Right now, at literally every step along the way, the more they talk about whiteness, the more they start disagreeing. You would have thought that the conversation about whiteness would have brought them together, but the conversation about whiteness has divided them more bitterly than it has in 2 generations. And I submit to you that the more that this discussion continues, the more it will divide them even worse. Which is why I look forward to the continuing conversation. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight, folks. This is far from over. This is far from over. Stay tuned, sports fans. This is just round 1. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. So click that subscribe button, the notification button. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in a nice program live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.